So let's talk about something that's, well, it's all around us, but we don't always see it. Why is it so incredibly hard for so many boys and men to just talk about what's really going on inside? Today, we're going to dive deep into a piece of writing that really gets to the heart of this whole thing. The whole idea starts with this really simple but powerful observation. It says boys don't usually sit down and say, you know, it's just three little words, I'm not okay. But it's a phrase we almost never hear. Instead of talking when they're not okay, they do something else entirely. And that right there, they distract themselves, that is the absolute key to unlocking this whole thing. See, it's not that they don't feel pain, it's about what they've learned to do with it. So that leads us right into our first big idea, the distraction habit. Let's really get into what this looks like in the real world, and more importantly, why it becomes this automatic go-to response. And these distractions, they look really familiar, right? Working longer hours, hitting the gym extra hard, scrolling on your phone until your eyes burn, playing video games way into the night. Look, these aren't just hobbies. A lot of the time, they're actually shields. The goal is to just keep busy, constant motion, constant noise. But what are they actually running from? And that's the answer. All that busyness, it's a strategy. It's to drown out the voice in your own head. Because in those quiet moments, when everything stops, that's when the problems, the worries, the pain, it all comes rushing back in. And it gets loud. Now, this is a really important shift in thinking. We have to reframe this. This isn't laziness. It's not just avoidance. It's a survival tactic. When your inner world feels totally chaotic, like you're losing control, these distractions, they give you something you can control. Okay, so this brings us perfectly to our next section, the mask of I'm fine. This is all about the huge gap between the person you see on the outside and the reality of what's happening on the inside. Just look at this contrast here. It's pretty stark. On the outside, what do you see? He still laughs, he's still cracking jokes, he always shows up. But on the inside, he's carrying one weight after another, feeling completely overwhelmed, and honestly, maybe even falling apart. That performance of being okay is a mask for a huge invisible burden. And you can almost think of it like a broken translation, right? The internal feeling, I'm overwhelmed or I'm hurt, it doesn't come out as words. No, it gets translated directly into an action. It comes out as I'm fine, or he just gets busy again. But why? I mean, why is silence the default setting? Our third section, Why Talking Feels Dangerous, really gets to the root of this fear. It's all about the lessons that teach boys that speaking up is a risk that just isn't worth taking. Wow, this line right here, it gets to the absolute core of the whole thing. It's not that boys are born unable to be vulnerable. It's a learned response. It comes from trying to reach out and finding out there's nobody there to catch you. And you can see how this happens. It's almost like a 4-step training program for silence, and it's heartbreaking. Step 1, he actually tries to open up. Step 2, he gets ignored or judged or even laughed at. Step 3, he gets hit with that classic line, man up. And by step 4, the lesson is crystal clear. It is safer to be silent. And what's the takeaway from all that? It's this. Distractions are predictable. A video game has rules. A workout is a routine. You know what you're going to get. But people are messy. They're unpredictable. They can hurt you. So he learns to choose the safer, more reliable option every time. Okay, but this coping mechanism, it's not sustainable. And it comes with a really high price. In our fourth section, we're going to look at what happens when the distractions just stop working and all those problems that have been pushed down start refusing to stay quiet. It starts with a simple, unavoidable truth. Problems you don't deal with don't just go away. They sit there, they fester. And underneath the surface, the pressure just builds and builds and builds. And that pressure has to go somewhere, right? It needs an escape valve. For a lot of guys, it turns into anger, irritability. Why? Because for men, anger is often seen as a more acceptable emotion than, say, sadness or fear. And after the anger, what's next? Well, just think about the sheer effort it takes. Holding up that mask day in and day out, carrying all that weight, it is draining. It leads to this profound burnout and exhaustion. And from that exhaustion, the whole system just kind of shuts down. It turns into this deep numbness. And let's be clear, this isn't peace, it's emptiness.
You feel disconnected from your job, your family, from yourself.
And what's the heartbreaking result of all this? When the breaking point finally comes, the world is often completely shocked. People say, "We never knew. We had no idea he was struggling." But here's the thing. The mask he was taught to wear, it worked perfectly. So, where do we go from here? If telling him to man up or offering some quick fix is totally the wrong approach, what actually works? Our last section looks at what boys and men truly need. And hint, it's not a fix. It's a safe space.
The answer isn't some big, complicated secret, but it does require patience. It's about creating a space where he can talk without being judged, without being rushed to get to the point, and, crucially, without being told that what he's feeling is somehow wrong. The goal isn't to solve the problem for him, it's to just hear him.
And I want to double click on this idea because it's so, so important. Most of the time, we listen just so we can figure out what to say next, how to offer advice. But true, genuine support, that comes from listening just to understand, to just sit with someone in their struggle without trying to fix it right away.
So let's leave it with this one final, really powerful thought to chew on. Maybe the strongest, most important thing we can do is completely reframe this conversation and teach boys, and ourselves, that talking isn't weakness, it's courage. That real strength isn't just silently enduring pain, but having the guts to be vulnerable, to ask for help, and to finally say, "I'm not okay."